Hi there, Phil here. So this is one of a series of tips that I'm going to be producing regarding water features. This is actually the first one I'm producing. I will have others on aspects such as how to look after water plants, how to maintain your fish, how to keep the water clear throughout the year, which I think is very important. So be sure to subscribe to my channel and like this tip so that you'll see the others as they become available. Also feel free to share this with others that you think might be interested in my channel. Now, I'm actually filming this in the middle of winter, and that if we're going to have a water feature, it should be attractive all year round. It should be somewhere where people are drawn to it. If you just tuck it away somewhere, people are not going to notice it. You need to draw them to it, either because they go through a transition area and they are drawn to the water feature because of the situation that it's in, or because you have it as a centerpiece, as I have here. So this is in the center of my courtyard. Other ways that I ensure that it is of year-round interest and attraction is I have this large sculpture in it. You don't have to have something like this in it. You can have something simple, like it could be a backdrop, or something that naturally draws the eye. Not everybody likes the sculpture. It's an abstract thing. It is built on a base which actually sits on the bottom of the pond, so it looks like it's floating, but it does bring people, and even if they don't like it, they'll come and they'll just look into the water and they'll see the fish that are there. The fish are visible and attractive all year round. That adds an element of interest. Flowing water can do the same too, of course. I maintain the clarity of the water through my balance of fish and different water plants, which I'm going to discuss in my other videos. Another element of interest that I provide is the plants themselves. I have water lilies. I have ones that are temperate ones that will have foliage all year round. They don't have so much foliage in winter, but you can still see that there is enough there to add a little bit of interest. Also, I have evergreen plants, such as this large rush, which is growing on the bottom of the pond. It adds a sculptural aspect to the pond all year round. I also have this deciduous plant. It's actually a dwarf bulrush or typha, and I think it actually looks quite attractive all year round, but I wouldn't want just deciduous plants in there. I think a mix of deciduous and evergreen, particularly using the sculptural features of the evergreen ones, does help to provide my year-round benefit. Having moving water, of course, is another aspect that you can have to your pond which will add interest to it through the sound and the movement of the water. Now, you've got two ways of providing a pond on your property. One is to buy a ready-made one at a garden centre, and they can be very attractive and sculptural. Having said that, they're almost invariably limited in size because they have to be transported to and from the garden centre to your property. And also, there are a limited range of styles and also sizes. Now, I am very strong, if you look at my landscape design tips, on making sure that the different elements in your property are aesthetically compatible. That is, the dimensions fit with others. So I made this pond here. It's a very heavy-duty masonry one to fit this area here. And I'm going to show you a method of making a very simple pond, very much the same as this, but one that can be cheaply and easily built and easily modified and changed if you should need to. This pond here is actually masonry. It has a very solid base to it, which is 4 inches or 10 centimeters of concrete with reinforcing mesh through it. And then up through that I have concrete block sides which have been plastered, and there are rebars or reinforcing bars coming up from the base and also providing a basket round and round the pod for strength. Because if you get any cracks or outlets for water that can work its way through to escape, then the water will find it. The method I'm going to show you is a simple way of actually ensuring that you will have a watertight situation without nearly this degree of elaboration. I also painted the inside of the pond with waterproof bituminous paint, black, because black is a colour which actually makes the water look deeper and more mysterious. And when you get the inevitable scunge, it doesn't actually show through the blackness. Now, I suggested that you could actually make a simple pond basically the same as this out of simple materials. And I didn't actually make one for this video. What I've done instead is I actually made a small one out of light balsa wood modelling material, which I have here. So this is basically the same as the one that I have here, except it's made out of wood. So if you were to make such a thing, this pond is actually 10 foot by 10 foot or 3 meters by 3 meters. It's quite large. You could make it to that size quite easily, or smaller or larger as you prefer. It doesn't have to be square. This is square, as I've done this one here. It could be whatever shape you like, even in a regular shape. It would have to be rectilinear though. So first of all, you would need to make sure that your ground was level. Now it doesn't have to be dead flat within itself, but it does have to be level in that if the pond isn't dead even on the ground, that is horizontal on its sides, then the water will look a bit odd, because the water will find its own level, and if it's not the same as the sides of the pond, then it will look a little bit unusual. So that's the first thing you do need to be careful of. It doesn't matter if the pond that you make is on paving or on soil, whatever. One key aspect is that you need to make sure that it's not going to cut through or damage the water liner that you're going to use. So if you were concerned about this, for instance, if there were stones in your soil, you can put some filter cloth or carpet underlay on top of the soil to be sure that you don't damage your pond liner. Then you can make the sides out of a fairly robust timber, say 40 or 50 millimeters thick, that is 2 inches more or less, and it can be 8 or 10 inches high, which is 160 or 200 millimeters. And you can simply stack them up one on the other, and you can attach that to posts which you have on the outside. So these posts should be fairly strong, that is 100 by 100 millimeters or 4 by 4 inches. I do recommend you have them on the outside. It makes it stronger, and also it means it'll be easier to put the pond liner in. I apologize for the dog next door. I would screw these into place rather than nailing, for example. This makes it easier to modify or move the pond. I'd screw it from the inside, and that would be easier to dismantle once you've taken the pond liner out later. So you can see I've got the posts right around the outside, and you would need to attach the sides to each other in some way to make it stronger. Then once you've done that, you can put the pond liner on top of that, and it will be easier if you have the posts on the outside. You can buy the pond liner, have sheets off a roll from garden stores or hardware shops, or you can order them pre-made to the size that you require. Make sure it's a little bit more than you require, because you will be cutting off some wastage around the outside. Put that on the inside, and you simply fold it into the corners here. You can use a batten to hold that in place, but eventually the water will simply hold it there anyway. Then you wrap that over the sides, and once you've done that, you can simply cut off the excess material. You can allow a little overflow if you wish. It's not a huge deal. So for instance, say you had a rainstorm and the water flowed up to over the edge, it could simply go over the edge, or it would simply go under the capping that I'm about to discuss. I have a simple water flow on the side of my pond, and it just leaks out onto the paving beside there. Never a particularly substantial amount of water that overflows from a garden pond such as this. Once you've put the lining and you've tucked it over the edge, and I suggest black lining by the way, because it's the same as my black paint here, it basically becomes invisible. Then you put the capping on top of that, and the capping again would be screwed on, and by screwing it on to the post around the outside, that is adding to the strength, and it's preventing the sides from bowing out should they decide to do so, even though you're using fairly robust timber. So I have got this remaining side that I didn't attach that we can put there to show how the pond would end up. So once you've done that, you can simply fill it up with water, which is a lot of fun. Once you've got the water in, you can immediately put plants in pot, or floating plants, or oxygen weed as they call them, and then I would leave it for a couple of weeks for the water to settle before you put the fish in. So that's it for this tip. I have seen a number of ponds that are built in this way, and they've always been very successful and very simple to build and dismantle should people decide to do so. If the liner should get damaged, which is fairly unlikely in a situation like this, you've got the edge of the lining under the capping, so it's not going to get damaged by animals walking on it or degraded by sunlight. I also recommend, by the way, that the capping should be slightly over the edge of the pond, which will help to protect the liner, and it also adds a sense of mystery, and it provides somewhere to sit on. So thanks very much for watching this through to the end, and don't forget to watch out for the other tips about water features as they become available. Thanks again.